Welcome to Dining Room Stories with Domar and Andrea, where we take you behind the scenes of the restaurant business world with stories and conversation that inspire. Some chase success, others create it. From humble beginnings in a local pizzeria to building an empire that spans continents. Our guest today has mastered not just the craft of true Neapolitan pizza, but the art of resilience, passion, and innovation. A pioneer, a perfectionist, and a name that has become synonymous with excellence in the pizza world. Welcome to Dining Room Stories, Mr. Johnny Di Francesco.
Well,
Benvenuto.
that's an introduction that I thought you were talking about someone else, but thank you. That's amazing.
You.
Thank you.
And it's a pleasure having you here.
Nice to be here.
Yeah,
Thanks, guys.
Grazie, Johnny, to be here today.
No
And let's start from the beginning.
Yeah.
When you're like 12 years old,
Yeah.
and like the whole like passion started from that. Working in a pizzeria to buy a pair of sneakers, right?
Yeah.
And what do you remember about these early days?
Well, growing up in a family where you either worked to get something or you didn't get anything at all apart from the essentials, which was more than enough, and that was food on the table and clothing and going to school. I think that was, the generation that I grew up in, or the environment that I grew up in. So if I wanted something, I learned at a very, very early age that you need to work. And so that's when I started asking, for work wherever I could, and I ended up getting one at a pizzeria.
Yeah, and it's like something related to the Italian culture, like with a lot of other guests talking about it, like what's fun in the Italian family, start working and help your father or your mother to actually,
Yeah, and I think it builds character as well. It's not so much about, I think the European families, and it's probably not just Italian families, but European families, we learn very, very young that if we getting to work at an early stage, we understand responsibility, we understand the value and the meaning of money, and we don't just spend it because we have it. We need to, we learn very young that if you want something, you need to work for it. And that's what happened to me. I mean, I was 12, and what's the anchor? What was the anchor for me? It was a pair of sneakers, as you said, and it wasn't something that I was thinking about. Oh yeah, I'm going to go and I want to go and buy a pair of Nikes, because, for me it was I got teased at school, and that sort of built resilience, that I didn't care about what people said about me, because I would go and fight and get what I wanted, on my own back. And for me, it was go get a job. And if you want these runners, or if you want whatever it is that you want, you're going to have to work for it. And that's what happened. That's why I started in the industry.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So at 15, you were already hooked on the craft, right? So what about pizza or the pizza making made you fall in love with it?
Yeah, I think it was probably the process behind it. Working in Australia in many different restaurants and pizzeria, I moved around a lot. I didn't stay in one pizzeria for probably longer than 3 to 6 months, and not because I didn't like where I was working. I actually enjoyed every place that I probably worked at, for some reason or another. But what it was I was learning things, and then it got to the point where I thought, I can't learn anymore here. So I wanted to learn more, so I'd go to the next one. And I kept doing that until I got to about 19 years old, and I thought, I know everything. And it's, you don't know everything.
When you're 19, it's
you
like
don't know everything. I don't care.
You feel like it, right?
You think you know everything, right? So I thought, no, I'm going to open up my own place. And that's what I did. I opened up my own pizzeria. It was a combination of pizzeria cafe. And that's when I realized that you don't know everything at 19.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like an moment, like a realization in that moment. It's like,
yeah, it was more of a, oh, fuck, what have I done? I'm in big trouble.
That's great. Like 19 is really a young age to actually start your own.
Yeah, it was probably my, people go to university and get a degree. My first 10 years of business was my university degree.
A very costly
A very
degree.
costly one.
I believe.
Well, I don't have HECS, but but it was costly.
Yeah, because like you actually enrolled for like an engineering course, right?
I did, yeah.
But then you quit
I lasted 1 day.
1 day only.
1 day, yeah.
So what happened? So you went there and like
I was working at a restaurant and sitting in this class and listening to the lecture, and I couldn't concentrate. Like I was doing electronics engineering, and I was listening to the guy talk about transistors and resistors, and I was like, oh, I can't do this. So I just excused myself. I said, can I go to the bathroom? And he goes, you're not in high school. You can go to the bathroom whenever you want. So I said, okay, no worries. So I put my books in the bag, put the bag on my shoulder, got in the car, and see you later.
That's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
But then it's like, so this like discovery phase from like our perspective just became like a true passion, right?
Yeah.
So what was that like the path into this? And I want to ask you, do you have a recipe, like your dough recipe? There's like a secret recipe, like a lot of pizza place got?
Not really. There's no real dough recipe at the end of the day. It's you can personalize your recipe, but there are fundamentals that you start off from, and then you personalize it. No one is doing anything that's whiz bang. Whatever's been done out there right now has been done for hundreds of years. We just now with technology and more persistence, we're perfecting what we're doing. So we're tweaking, we're changing, but it doesn't mean that we've got a secret. There's no real secrets out there. But how did the passion become? By the time I was 23, I had 7 locations, and what I did learn during the 10 years of prior was that business fundamentals are the same in any business that you open, and those fundamentals come down to systems and processes. And if you don't have those in place, then you're pretty much, putting yourself for failure. You're not building success or a succession plan. If you don't have a system behind everything, and I'm talking about absolutely everything, to the point where you put the key in the door to open your business in the morning, all the way to the time you close that door, and everything in between. If you don't have a system, then you're pretty much planning to fail, right? So I learned that, and that's why I say the first 10 years of being in business, it wasn't so much about, I knew I was making a good product, but I learned that making a good product wasn't enough. It's not about just making the best pasta, the best pizza, the best fish, or whatever it is that you're making. It's not about that. It's about so many other fundamentals. There's marketing that, we know that is very, very important, especially these days. When I started, marketing was a couple of flyers in the letterboxes and a couple of ads, right? Old school, right? A couple of ads in the paper and try and get your customers that way. Today, there's so much more behind it. So marketing is a big one. Ambience is another big one. Then we talk about, the food that we're serving, the service, and then how do we make our guests feel? That's for me is number one. How do you make them feel when they walk away? They don't remember a plate of pasta. They don't remember a pizza. What they remember is how you made them feel. And, that's probably the hardest thing to achieve in any business. So I learned this in 10 years, and then when I was 20, before the 10-year ended for me, in that 10-year journey was putting a system in place for everything that I did. And so at 23, I had 7 locations. And so I realized that how do I teach everyone to do everything, the way I want them to do it? And the only way to do it was to actually create systems for every part of my business. And I did that, and then it got really boring. It got so boring because, I got to the point where I want more, and it wasn't I want more in making more money. That was never the thought process for me. What was the biggest thing is I wanted more satisfaction. I wanted more customer interaction. I wanted more pleasure out of what I was doing. So I then started selling off these little businesses that I had, and that's when I opened up Gradi.
Yeah. You said, and this is beautiful, like the management organization is important to scale. you say it's not always about the best pizza, but let's go back to 2014 when you actually won the best pizza in Parma at the World Pizza Championship, and there was a margherita, and you are Italo-Australian, but actually, you know, winning that from an Australian chef is an amazing achievement. So can you tell us, or how did you feel when it happened? And like because I'm Australian now too, so I feel proud.
I remember the night that you were in Italy. I was living on Lygon Street, and I went to 400 Gradi in Brunswick, and there was a line out the door.
It's crazy.
So I went to the manager and said, "What's going on? What happened?" Johnny just won the best pizza in the world in Italy. Wow.
Look, how did obviously, you know, any accolade or any award that anyone wins, obviously it makes them feel good, right?
Hi guys, I hope you're enjoying the episode. Remember to subscribe to our channel to get updates, and keep enjoying the rest of the episode.
But to be honest with you, you know, people say, how does it feel to be the best in the world? You know, just because you win a competition or you win an award doesn't mean that you're best in the world, you know, and that's a really nice way to, you know, have this award and acclaim that, you know, you've done something amazing. What it actually, for me, what it was is that all the years of hard work, I got recognized on that day. And that for me was personally the biggest satisfaction, because it just sort of, you know, really cemented what I've done over these years. To be honest with you, I was best on the day. And that's the difference. That's how I look at it. I don't think I was best in the world because 600 other competitors were just as good as I was. It's just that on that day, I was seen to be the better one out of all of them. It doesn't mean that the other 600 weren't good, or the other 600, you know, had, you know, something a little bit different to what I was doing. It was just what happened for me that time. But the biggest achievement was putting Australia on the map.
Yeah, and that's amazing. By the way, my mom is from Castellammare di Stabia, so Campana, and you got like, you know, Napoletane origin. You know, in a competition in Italy with pizzaioli Napoletani, putting the Australian flag is a big achievement.
Yeah.
You're really humble, and I appreciate that. But Johnny, that's amazing.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I believe that that achievement was the biggest one for Australia. After that year, you know, that there have been many pizza championship, whatever, but that one was the game changer.
It's like when we win soccer, man.
No,
it's like I love that you're really humble.
No, I understand.
Man, that's the fact. So,
that was a big deal for Australia. And
it was, because what happened, what I realized is that when I was traveling to Italy, there was so many people saying to me, you know what? I want to come to Australia. I heard the food in Australia is amazing, especially Melbourne, et cetera, et cetera. So that for me was like, wow, like now people are really talking about Australia. And that for me was so much satisfaction. And also what it did was it made a lot of other pizzerias around Australia, you know, become recognized in the sense that we want to go to these pizzerias, because you know what? If there's one person that's doing something good, there's got to be others, because you can't be the only person doing something good. You know what I mean?
That's right.
And so that, you know, for me, it was for everybody. It wasn't just for myself.
You did something incredible.
Yeah.
Did your business change overnight? I mean, it was already a successful business, but
it definitely amplified what we were doing to another level. Yeah, definitely. That 100%.
And how did you manage that period? You know, because I remember that night you were super, super busy afterwards, every day for, I don't know.
For a long time.
Long time.
Look, you know, it was just a lot of hard work. You know, we kept working, and the team was amazing. You know, the team just, you know, really dug deep and just kept going, because they were proud to be part of what we achieved. And even till today, you know, like everyone just works hard. That's all we do. You know, it's all about working hard.
I remember at a certain point you were also renovating your restaurants because you didn't have any more capacity, and you were painting, and you know, everybody was still in the dining room.
Yeah, it's true.
It was incredible. Yeah. How did you manage burnout during those years? You know, it's a big thing for hospitality people, stress, staff issues.
Yeah. I don't think I've realized the burnout yet. Maybe it'll hit me soon. It's
Work-life balance.
I haven't stopped. That's the thing. We honestly, I haven't stopped at all.
It's like when I was living in Heidelberg, like I had like my flatmate was working at 400 Gradi. When he went there, it's working there is like going to the army. It's the same thing. You learn how to work. That's what they told him when he got there. He was working like crazy. I remember that.
Was there ever a moment where, you know, you wanted to walk out from all of this, or for the pressure? Or?
No, and that's a hard no. One thing that I don't get scared of is pressure or bad times, good times, whatever it is. I won't walk away from anything. But I will say that the day I wake up and I say enough is enough, that's when I'll just move on. So I don't have a middle ground. I'm either all in or I'm all out.
You are a true entrepreneur.
Yeah.
There was a mistake done during while you were growing the 400 Gradi brand. Can you give us some examples?
Plenty of mistakes. Plenty. Probably if I could go back, I would keep 400 Gradi at the maximum of 2 locations, no more than that. I would make the brand unique to its own location. But there's so many mistakes. Like I can ramble off, for hours what I should have done better. But it doesn't matter. The mistakes is where I learned most of my lessons from. If people say, all the achievements have never taught me anything, but the mistakes have taught me a lot. The mistakes along the journey, you realize that, so I'll give you an example. When you're flying high, everyone's your friend. When you're struggling, the people you think are your friends actually aren't. And I've got a term for this now, and I call them financial friendships. Anyone that is gaining from you financially when everything is fantastic are your financial friends. When you are hitting rock bottom and trying to expand or get it, trying to achieve even more than what you're doing, your financial friends that aren't gaining financial benefits anymore become your worst enemies. I tell you, that's the biggest lesson that I've learned from growth and hitting rock bottom.
That's really interesting, and I think consistency when you got multiple venues is really important. So how do you maintain consistency with different locations like, the Crown compared to the Brunswick one or the other restaurants? How do you maintain or?
Yeah, again, it all comes back to systems.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm very systemized in everything that I do. And, people think, you're systemizing or you've got systems in place, so that doesn't make you a unique or artisan brand anymore. That's not true. That's not true at all, because I would prefer to have a consistent product as, all year round for as long as I possibly can, than to have a product that goes up and down all the time.
Yeah, at the end of the day, like people expect the same quality or like a similar taste in the actual pizza, but also crafting pizza, for example, it's what it makes the difference, right? Making it unique every time, but also people can complain if there's no consistency.
That's right.
So it's a balance.
Yeah. Johnny, how do you manage criticism and jealousy?
I put the blanket over my head at night and cry. No, I'm joking. I actually don't give a shit. To be honest with you, I don't. I've seen many people criticize me. I've seen, I've been through many people, say things about the brand or myself over the years. I actually how I handle it is I actually feel sorry for them, because, you know, at the end of the day, you know, for someone to talk or say something, you know, against your brand or against yourself personally means that internally they're not happy with themselves. And that, for me, I actually feel for them. I actually would prefer that someone would talk to me about it, and maybe I could help them as well through what they're going through. Because at the end of the day, I'm not the one with the problem. If you criticize me, you're the one with the problem. And that's just how it is, you know, and that's how we sort of block the noise, you know, because it's all noise. You see, you gotta remember, guys, when, you know, you guys got restaurants. When you're in a restaurant, someone is going to try and bring you down or criticize you because and if they do, it's because they are threatened by your success. And instead of being threatened by someone's success, and this is why the restaurant community probably sometimes fails, is we as restaurateurs or chefs or whatever it is, we should come together and unite and become stronger, right? Because we can collaborate so much more. There's no point in competing against someone. If anything, I compete against myself. You know who I get worried about criticizing me? I criticize myself so much that I couldn't care less about someone criticizing me, because I criticize myself more than what anyone could ever criticize me. So I've got that mentality. That's my mindset, my mind space. But yeah, I feel pity on people that have time in their day to talk about someone else. I really feel bad for them.
Have you always had this mindset?
Since I was a kid. Since I was a kid. Honestly, I'm not kidding. From when I was, even in high school, I didn't care what people said. I was friends with everybody. I didn't care what people say about me, because I was comfortable in my own skin. I knew that if I wanted to achieve something, I'd achieve it myself. I didn't need anyone else to help me. You know, the only people that I worry that would criticize me is my own family. And I'm talking about my immediate family. I don't even care about my family as much as that sounds
like your mom, right?
Yeah, that sounds bad. But when I talk about my immediate family, I'm talking about my wife and my children.
Okay.
If they criticize me, then there's a problem.
Okay.
But anyone else, I couldn't care less. Doesn't matter.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
There's a big lesson on entrepreneurship. And yeah, a lot of entrepreneurs that become successful, they say like the path towards like success is you become alone.
It's lonely, man.
It's lonely.
It's very lonely.
That's my English. Like
it's very
loneliness,
lonely,
right?
yeah. No, true. It is. It is. You know, when you're working, sometimes I'll do 18 hours, 20 hours a day. And you know, how many birthdays, how many occasions, how many weddings, how many whatever that I've missed through my career. You know, these are the paths that we go to become successful, and sometimes it's it becomes very lonely.
We were discussing this in the previous podcast. 97% is hard work, sleepless night, a solo journey, and 3% is the glamour that everybody sees.
Yeah. No, 100%. You know, you see people on social media, flaunting what they're doing and stuff. Great. But dig deep down, is that how their life is really about? It's not.
It's not the reality.
No, it's not the reality.
That's what I tell my daughter. Social media is not real.
It's not.
Yeah, just that kind of projection, but it's all like the positive sides, right?
Yeah.
It's like, and also like sometimes it's hard to put yourself like,
and it's inspiring. Like if you look at it and you can become inspired by someone, great. But you know what? People only see the end. People don't see what it takes to get there. And I feel sorry for the young generation, because everyone wants to get somewhere really fast. I've been in the restaurant game now. There will be 28 years this year.
28
wow. Or 29 actually. It will be 29 years, right? And if someone said to me, have you already reached where you want to? No, I haven't. I'm not even 50% of the way. And it's been 29 years.
That's amazing. So you have a plan for the future. But in general, it's like running one restaurant, right, is one thing. Running a chain is another thing. Running an international chain is like a different step. Let's start from running a restaurant and then expanding to multi-locations.
Yeah.
how was the path? How was the experience?
We'll go back to when I was 23 running multiple locations. That was probably like I said, was my learning, my apprenticeship, if you want to call it. So I understood really quickly that going from 1 to 2 is the hardest thing you can ever do. One unit to 2 units is the hardest thing. And, a lot of people say to me, but how is that possible? You go from 1 to 2, you should make double the money. No, actually, you need to take a pay cut. And people don't understand that. Because when you're running 1, you're there yourself. You're there. It doesn't matter if it's 6 days, 7 days, 14 shifts, you're there, right? And so if you don't have all the right parameters in place, when you go into a second unit, you got to understand that, your new shiny restaurant, you want to be at that one. So who replaces you in the new one, in the old one? You need to get someone to replace you. Now, what most entrepreneurs or business people do is they don't account for their time and their hours when they're at work. So now you need to replace yourself, but it's going to cost you money to replace you. And you want to make sure that you're getting someone that's really good to replace you. So you're going to have to pay really good money for it. But you didn't account for that. So that comes straight off your bottom line. Then you go into the second one, and that might take a little bit of time to build. And so going into your second one, you're probably not making money for the first 6 months, 12 months. So now you're taking money from your first one because you're successful there, and you're plugging it into your second one.
Yeah,
and so that's why I say you're taking
risk,
a pay
right?
cut.
I think that's where you can actually risking
correct
fail, right?
That's
I've seen a lot of small business owner, they trying to expand to the second location a little bit too quick.
Yes.
On the first year they get into business is amazing because they put time, effort, passion.
Yeah.
So the business booming, and instead of waiting 2 or 3 years to consolidate the business, what do they do on the second year? They open another location.
Correct.
They're still waiting to receive taxes from the previous one. They're not solid. They don't have solid businesses.
Yeah.
And instead of having 2 locations at 100%, they have 2 at 50%.
Yeah. And 50 is a pretty big number. I would say 30.
Wow.
Right? So going from 1 to 2 is the hardest. Once you can achieve 1 and 2, then the third unit becomes a little bit easier, because by that stage, if you're running 2 successful businesses, then you're pretty much down pat that you may have great systems in place. But even then you need to refine, because going from 2 to 3, now you're replacing yourself again. And the only time you can expand beyond 3 is when you actually remove yourself from the business. That's the only way. So if you're still running your business and you're in your business and you're doing the day-to-day things like, cooking or front of house or bar or wine lists and menu developments and all this sort of stuff, that will deter you from growing, because you don't have a solid team. Because if you had a solid team, then you wouldn't be in there.
When is the time to grow?
Or
is there a right time to remove yourself from the business? It's about feeling, or it's about...
It's about when the business doesn't rely on you anymore. So even at the first business, if I had to give anyone any advice right now,
please, I'm listening.
I would only go into a second business if the first one I have totally removed myself from that business and it still runs efficiently and still successful as if you were in the business.
Do you count the accounting, managing the office as a day-to-day operation, or that doesn't count?
That's what I'm saying. You got to have all facets of that business.
So even the
correctly,
office,
even the office, right? So you got to pretty much be looking a helicopter view over the business, and you're not doing any of the day-to-day operational stuff, not even accounting, not even nothing. But what you're doing is you're becoming an analyst of your own business. Once you've done that and it's running profitable and successful, you can then go to your second one. I wouldn't do it any earlier. And I'll tell you why I'm saying this is because I made that mistake. I'm telling whatever I talk about is because I've already experienced it. So I prematurely took myself out of that first restaurant, went into a second one, but I was probably a little bit lucky because my second one boomed, right? But then I went too early into my third one. And this is where I'm saying, if I had made the right choices, right fundamentals for the first one, and I did the right thing for the second one, today I'd probably have restaurants all over Australia.
Yeah, because you got excited, right?
Exactly. Okay, so we need to understand our emotions. You got to, when you're excited about something, hold that excitement. Park the excitement and analyze the business. Understand where you are, what you're doing. Have you got every part of this business 100% concrete, right? So, you should be turning up to work on a daily basis and understanding your business from a helicopter view, not even being in the business. Your reporting should be on the table. You should know what's going on, and then your decisions and your day-to-day choices should be all through analytical data, and then the rest of it, the way you want your business to run, your ambience and all that should be a team collaborative forward thinking. Yeah. It's not a one person band.
That is an amazing advice, really.
Yeah, it's so interesting, right? Mm-hmm. It's like, so I think from my perspective, is like moving from the second stage, because I'm between the first and the second with mine, is like going up. It feels like I'm telling myself that I'm not working anymore, because when I remove myself from some of the practical tasks, my brain is telling me that I'm not working. Do you understand my point?
Yeah, I know. I get it. You feel useless,
guilty.
Yeah, guilty because I'm not working.
Useless. But no, so I'll give you. I was talking to someone about this, not long ago, and when I was explaining to them why I was, I got bored, et cetera, and this guy, and I respect him so much, like I really had such great conversation with him, and he said, Johnny, you know what I took out of this is that you're telling me that you got you systemized your business so much that you got bored. And he said that is an example of when you know that you've placed everything in the right areas, because you feel useless, you feel guilty, but what you've essentially done is you've set up your business so well that it doesn't rely on you anymore. My phone used to ring 50 times a day. Today, I'm lucky if my phone rings once a day.
Oh, thanks for answering to the call when we invited you to the podcast.
No,
just joking.
What I mean by 50 times a day was from my staff.
Yeah, I understand.
Now, if you're getting 50 phone calls a day from your staff, you know what that says?
I know exactly.
That you haven't given them the tools.
You don't have a business, you have a job.
You have a job, right? You haven't given them the tools to be able to run your business the way you want, because they're always double guessing. They're always calling you for advice. But if you've got it in line, then they don't need to do that anymore, because you're empowering them as well. And when you empower someone, what happens?
What happens?
They become better at their job. But when they're always relying on you, they're not growing. And if they're not growing, your business won't grow.
This is an incredible achievement and high level of business mastery. What's in for the entrepreneur, Johnny, once you reach that level, to overcome that feeling of, being solo, having more time? How does an entrepreneur, a successful entrepreneur, overcome that feeling, and what does he do?
Well, being an entrepreneur and saying that you have more time, I probably say we don't. We don't have more time, because what we do is that any extra time that we do have, what we're doing is we're always thinking about how can I better what I'm doing right now. Because let me tell you, when you think or you rest on what you've achieved and you think that you've reach the point of success, that is the quickest way to then go backwards. So you need to operate your business on a daily basis that you're about to fail. And I know that sounds crazy, but even when things are running perfectly, you need to be the biggest critic of how can you make it better.
Where do you work? On the fundamentals?
You got to work on everything. You got to analyze every part of that business again, and you just continue doing it.
Yeah, amazing, Joy. So we're talking about step from the first to the second location and then international expansion. What is the market that's been toughest to you? Because you've been in different countries.
Yeah.
So, and then I want to get back to, because you say 50% after 29 years of experience.
Yeah. So going into different markets, it's funny, people say to me, oh, you had restaurants in the Middle East, you have restaurants in the US, and you've had restaurants, and you had locations on ships and blah, blah. To me, I'm not sure why, but to me, like, regions and locations weren't the issue. I've never had a problem with that. I adapt them, and the brand was really good to adapt to what the local market required. So that wasn't the scary part. Actually, if COVID never hit, we would have more locations than what we have overseas, because the overseas market compared to the Australian market is actually really good. Like, we're sort of, we're probably a little bit behind when it comes to how we operate our business in Australia to how other countries operate their business in Australia. Yeah, we're a little bit behind, and maybe the business model. When we look at the modeling in Australia for restaurants, in our country, compared to the modeling in, let's say, the US, we are far, far apart. Now, why do I believe Australian businesses can be more successful than, let's say, an American business coming to Australia? Is because our model here is so difficult to run, so difficult. So when we take the fundamentals of running a so difficult hospitality business in Australia, when we go to another country, we find that it's very surprising on how it's run.
It's becoming very difficult in Australia.
Yeah, it's very difficult
to run any type of business.
Yeah. And, like, we don't have the cultures of, that we have that we can see overseas. It's completely different. The way they run it, hospitality is run completely different, to the point where it sounds like it's not a good model, but when you actually in there and looking at it and really digging deep into the way they do things, they are, and we talk about staff, are actually much more in front than what the staff are here. Like, you talk about the US, right? The minimum wage is probably not as high as what it is here, but they have a great tipping culture. What happens when you got a good tipping culture? You get great service.
People are more motivated.
They're more motivated to give better service. In Australia, we got, very high standard in hourly rate. So, most of the servers are like, doesn't matter if I don't give good service, I'm still getting, a great amount of money anyway. Whereas in the US, it's all about the waiter is running their own business. Their table is their business. They will do everything to make the guest extremely happy. And the guests walk away being happy because they've been given good service. Anything that they require is there. And in return, the waiter is getting rewarded by the guest. So when you look at what a waiter is earning in the US compared to a waiter they're earning here in Australia, it's very far apart, especially in good restaurants.
A lot.
Some, you probably know yourself, some waiters can earn up to $1,000 a day because of the tipping culture.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
A controversial question from a master pizzaiolo. Pineapple on pizza.
Oh, I don't give a shit.
Crime or accept?
Put whatever you want on your pizza, man. I don't care, man. Seriously, I'm just over people saying, do you want pineapple on pizza? Look, we don't have it in our restaurant, but you know what? If you want to come to our pizzeria and bring your own pineapple, I'll put it on your pizza for you. I don't care. It's not so much about that. It's with any cuisine. I don't know, tzatziki or no tzatziki on your souvlaki. Like, really, who cares? If it's your taste, it's your taste.
So what about the sushi pizza? Have you heard about this concept?
Yeah.
What do you think about it?
I reckon it's a bit of fun.
I like it.
I actually think it's fun, it's people doing different things and, showing different styles of pizza and stuff. Why not? I think food should be fun. And I think we've taken a little bit to the point where everyone's getting so serious about it that it doesn't become fun anymore. So, yeah, let people do what they want.
You recently partnered up with Johnny Vincent Sam,
yeah.
The Sushi Mango restaurant in Lygon Street.
Yeah.
What do you think of that concept and how did it come to mind?
Firstly, what do I think of? I reckon it's the most genius idea that's probably happened in the last decade in Australia, if not the world, to be honest with you. How did it come about? I was friends with the sushi boys and they came to me and said, we want to open up a restaurant. And I said, are you guys being funny? And they said, no, we really want to open up a restaurant and we want to do it with these people. There's 6 partners in it and we're like family. And that's the best part about this business. We've all contributed something, whether it's the culinary side for me, whether it's the front of house from, Danny from Royal Stacks, whether it was Steve, one of our partners on back end, and then the boys in obviously they're a marketing machine, they're well known all over the world. It was just a great synergy. And when we got together, we said to ourselves, we're going to have a bit of fun. And to be honest with you, it's probably the most fun that I've had in 18 months since we opened. I've had so much fun doing it that it rejuvenates. It makes you want to do even more again. And that's what's been great about the Johnny Vincent Sam restaurant. Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. So we go back to that 50% missing. What's missing now, Johnny? What's the next 50% we should expect from you in the future?
Yeah, that's a good question. So, during COVID, obviously a lot of restaurants, had a hard time, and probably a lot of restaurants still having a hard time coming out of COVID. And if we want to be honest, and I got into manufacturing, and that sparked a whole new passion for what I do in food. Putting restaurant quality food on tables at home that you can buy from the supermarket for me became, something that really inspired me to want to do better. Food with no preservatives, no additives, and all these sort of things that most manufacturers do. And I think we've probably reached that point where we are starting to achieve that now. So the other 50% for me is I want to see, the manufacturing side of my business become one of the best manufacturing facilities in Australia.
I'm pretty sure we're going to see that
in
the future. So. Johnny, you're a really inspiring person. Like, for a lot of people admire you. So what would you say to a young entrepreneur that want to get into the food market business now, restaurant? What would you say, like, as a main advice?
My advice is don't rush. Don't rush. Honestly, don't rush. Get as much experience as you possibly can under your belt. Really, really, learn from people, and as many people as you possibly can. And also people in Australia, leave, go out, go and see what the rest of the world is doing. Because, you can work at as many restaurants as you want in Australia, but, once you get out of this country, you'll start to see different things. And for me, that was the pivotal point at 30 years old. When I left at 30 and went to Napoli and, was introduced to pizza napoletana because of my dad speaking about this product for so many years before he passed away. When he passed away was my sign to say, I'm going to Napoli. I want to see what it's all about. So get out of Australia, go and learn from as many different people as you possibly can. Write everything down. Really write everything down, like your whole journey. Understand where you are and where you are at when you're ready to open, and read your journey and all the great things, implement them into your business. Because you know what? People love a great story. And that's my advice. Don't rush your journey. Just, you think you want to get in early, but it's not. You know why? Because it's never too late.
Great. Thanks, Johnny. So it's like enjoy the journey.
Enjoy it all.
So the last question, what would you say to a younger Johnny? What a piece of advice would you have for yourself if you can talk to when you were younger?
If only I'd put as much effort as I have in the hospitality industry into my music, I'd be an international drummer right now.
Oh, that's so cool. I'm a drummer. I've been playing 10 years in drumming scene. Oh, that's interesting.
You come to my office. I've got my kit still set up.
We should do like a drumming session together.
Yeah.
Grazie mille, Johnny. È stato un piacere. It's been an
Grazie.
absolute pleasure to have you here.
Thank you very much.
Grazie. Really inspiring and like.
Thank you. And you know what, guys? I really wish you both all the best. Yeah, I love what you're doing. It's a great initiative for the industry, and good luck with the future. And I hope you become the #1 hospitality podcast around Australia.
Thank you so much.
Thank you
We're
so
definitely
much.
trying.
Grazie, Johnny.
Grazie.
Hey guys, thanks for watching the episode. I'm gonna see you in the next one.
Welcome to Dining Room Stories with Domar and Andrea, where we take you behind the scenes of the restaurant business world with stories and conversation that inspire.